Let us see. So yesterday we have seen constructor function and object literal notations. Also we have seen what do you mean by new keyword? Just a minute. Objects, advanced, constructor functions, new keyword. So few things in this document, few things might be new to you, but don't worry, you will see meaning of everything. But we have seen yesterday about these things, constructor functions and object literal notations. Now today's topic is about something called as prototype. Today's topic is something called as prototype. Now what is prototype and other things we will see. Just a minute. Okay, now that is okay. So let's create first a new folder. Day 39. Actually more days we have completed, right? But few things we have not maintained over here. Day 39. And here we can say prototypes and polyfills. So when you say prototype, what do you mean by prototype is important? Right, prototype is little bit important. So when you say prototypes, okay, object accessors we have written. So into advance also, object accessors, object constructor functions, H1. If it becomes too much lengthier, we will shift to another page. Okay. Yes, prototypes and polyfills. Now when you talk about the prototype, what do you mean by prototype? Prototypes in the JavaScript are fundamental concepts which is related to the object oriented programming. Every JavaScript object has a prototype which acts as a template for the object, providing it with the inherited properties and methods. So let's write. So here we can say H2 prototype. Prototype. Prototype is important concept. Prototype is prototypes in JavaScript are fundamental concepts related to the object oriented programming. Every JavaScript object has a prototype. Every JavaScript object has a prototype which acts as a template for the object, providing it with inherited properties and methods. When the property or method is accessed on the object, JavaScript, see, this is the definition of the prototype. When the property or method is accessed on an object, JavaScript first looks for it on the object itself. If it doesn't find, then it looks for the object prototype and so on up to the prototype chain. If it doesn't find it, it then looks for on the object prototype, and so on until the prototype chain ends. So what is prototype? Let's code it first. So here we can have a card, or here we can say prototype prt.js, prt.js. Here we can say function car constructor function. Remember that. Here we can say speed and lights. So here we can say this dot speed is equals to speed. So this dot speed is nothing but the object's property, and this speed is this incoming speed, correct? And here you can say this dot lights is equals to lights. So this lights is nothing but this lights. This name can be absolutely anything. So you can assign it over here, right? So variable names these names can be anything, no problem. But this is also, these variable names can be anything, right? But just to have a common sense, this speed with this speed, just to understand it correctly, which variable is going to be assigned to what, we are keeping these two names same, but it is absolutely not necessary. This name can be anything, right?
Yes.
Okay, so here we can create the instance const cr is equals to new car, cr1 we can say, and here we can say 100 and lights 3. Okay, and then what you can do, simply console.log. Now I want to add methods to this thing. First let's try to access cr1 dot speed, cr1 dot speed. So here we can say speed is this, correct? But how do I add the function? So these are called as properties.
Yes.
Right? In the object literal notation also these are called as properties. But I want to add some methods. So if you want to add a methods, you need to access the prototype. Prototype. Can you see? Car.prototype. What is prototype? Prototype. Just a minute. So when you say prototype, is that object. Prototype in a JavaScript are the fundamental concepts related to the object-oriented programming. So we are actually understanding what you can say, how to create the objects, but in the ES5 way, older JavaScript. This is what the older JavaScript is. So we are going to see object-oriented principles in other way also, classes and objects. We are going to cover it in the classes and objects also. But this is the constructor function. Constructor function, we can call this thing as a constructor function. By means of the constructor function, we can create the object. So there are two ways of creating an object we have seen. First way, object literal notation. And this is the second way. And now we are understanding what is prototype, right? So whenever you say prototype, every JavaScript object has a prototype. See, car is having some prototype. Prototype is a shape which acts as a template for the object. So how your object would be is decided by this prototype. Even you can do something like this, prototype dot break, or is what you can say is manual, car is manual or what. So here we can say false. Now if you go here and just check manual and cr1 dot is manual. Can you see? So the way you have added properties over here, these are the objects properties. And if you see what we have written, when a method or when a property or a method is accessed on the object, JavaScript first look it in the object itself. Now see, the speed and the lights are available in an object itself, right?
Yes.
If it doesn't find it, then it looks for it in the object's prototype. Now what is the object's prototype? Every JavaScript object has a prototype. Every JavaScript object has a prototype which acts as a template for the object. Template for the object, providing it with inherited properties and method. So it provides, can you see I have added a property. In a same fashion, I can add, C should be capital over here, name of the constructor function car dot prototype dot, here we can say speed up, and this would be a function. This would be a function. Getting my point? Speed up. Or here you can write function in this way also, a normal function like anonymous function like this. So here you can say this dot, can you see here directly you access the speed is equals to this dot speed plus 1. Yes, we will increase the speed by this. And here you can, so here you can call now cr1 dot speed up. cr1 dot speed up, again print the speed.
Yes.
See the prototype. So here we have seen constructor functions are used to create the object. Object literal notations are used to create the object. And JavaScript ES6 classes also used to create the objects, right? JavaScript ES6 classes, forget about right now. Just remember that you can create the object in the ES5 in a two ways, by means of constructor function, by means of object literal notations, right? So there are benefits. Yesterday we have seen what are the benefits of using constructor function. This thing is called as property, and this thing is also called as properties. You can create properties like this, and this thing is called as behaviors or methods. You can add to this car object, you can add method like this, car dot prototype dot speedup, right? So object will first search as per the definition when a property or method is accessed on an object. When a property or a method is accessed on an object, JavaScript first look it in the object itself. So is manual, so you say cr1 dot is manual. So JS first search into this object, is manual is available or not. If not, it will go to the prototype. In a prototype it will check it is manual available or not, right? That's what the prototype is, an empty object. Or in the other words, think of the prototype in JavaScript as a blueprint or the set of instruction that object uses to build itself. It's like a pre-made template that an object refers to for the properties and methods when it is created. When you try to access the property or a method on an object, JavaScript checks if the object itself has the property or the method. If it doesn't, it looks at the prototype of the object to see if prototype has it. If prototype doesn't have it, JavaScript keeps looking prototype chain until finds what it is looking for and reaches the end of the chain. So this mechanism allows object to share the properties and methods with the similar objects, making more memory efficient and enabling the reusability of the code. It is similar to how children inherit the certain traits or characteristics from the parents. So in the essence, prototype helps object in the in JavaScript to inherit the features from other from what you can say other object, prototype. So when you say prototype, is it clear what is a prototype?
Yes, sir.
So when you say prototype, so we are understanding what is prototype.
Yes.
So you can consider prototype is, you see my screen, right?
No, sir. Yes.
So prototype is something, empty template in every object.
Yes.
So here we created car.prototype. Prototype is nothing but a object inside object. So car is one of the object and prototype is a template. So inside prototype you can add the properties. Inside prototype you can add the behaviors. So when you say prototype, remember that you are talking about something which is a template, Now let's try. There is one word we have seen over here. When property or a method is accessed on the object, so it search into the object first and then it search into the prototype. If it doesn't find, then it looks into the prototype and other things. So prototype, one more thing we have seen, that is nothing but, in the essence we can see here, prototypes help objects in JavaScript to inherit the features from other objects, right? So here we can say this mechanism allows object to share the properties and methods with the similar objects, making it memory efficient and enabling the reusability of the code. It is similar to how children inherit certain traits or the characteristics from the parents, right? Now let us see this thing. And inheritance using prototype. So here we can say inheritance using prototype. So let's convert this to H2. So I'm talking about these two lines. So how do you do this thing? For that, here we can say inheritance inh.js, and let's create the constructor function vehicle, vehicle, and here we can say make model, vehicle make model. So here we can say this dot make is equals to that incoming make, this dot model is equals to model. Okay, then here we can say vehicle dot prototype dot show or details is equals to, you can use arrow also, no problem. This dot, now see arrow is having some problem. If you use arrow, this dot this dot. Can you see make is not accessible in arrow? So let's use a function.
Yes.
So whenever we will understand call, bind and apply, you will get to know about this thing. Let's apply the function, and here you can say this dot. Can you see? So this is not accessible in arrow. Look at this again. Can you see? I say this dot, which means that this is pointing to this function vehicle, details, make and model. Can you see that? Make and model available, and details is the name of the function. But if you try to access this by means of arrow, these properties are not accessible. This is because the bind, we have not bind object with this lambda. We'll see that how to do it. We'll see that later on. So let's make a function, anonymous function, and here you can say details, and now we can say return, we can say make is dollar this dot make, model is dollar this dot model. Correct? And you can first you can create the object const vh is equals to new vehicle. You can make abc model 111 and console.log vh dot details. Details is going to return a string. So here you may expect the string cd day 39, sorry, not here, details day 39 and node inh.js. Can you see make abc model 111? That is working. Correct? Now this vehicle I want to treat as parent. This would be considered as what? Parent. Now I want to create the child. Say fun function car constructor function we will write, and now here this car would be having make, model and year, make and model for these two things. So you may remove this, but what I wanted to do, I want to inherit this make and model. I want to inherit this make and model from vehicle into the car, right? Car can be something like this. So here you can say this dot, here you can say this dot year is equals to year. This dot year is equals to year. Now I want this car to be treated as vehicle. I want this car to be treated as this vehicle. So you can do one thing over here. You can do one thing over here. Here you can say car dot prototype is equals to object dot prototype, and here you can say vehicle dot prototype. Car dot prototype is equals to object dot prototype, and here you can say this. Now over here we can say car dot prototype dot details, or car dot prototype dot car details is equals to a function here, and return you can say make this dot. Now if you see here, these two things are, I want make to be there, model to be there, and year to be there. So presently I can access just what? Year. So I can say year. Year is nothing but what? This dot. Can you see only year I can access? But inside a car object, I want make and model also, right? How do you do that thing? This thing you will get to know once we learn the call function. don't worry about this. So here I can say this, and here I can say here I can say SUV and 1 2 3. Now just try to do one thing over here. This dot here, you can say object dot prototype is equals to this dot prototype. Okay, here we can say make model instead of the static one. Well, no problem, make model, make and what model, and here we can simply call so this is the details, or just make VH, vehicle details VH, and instead of this you can make details CR, car, this dot details VH. So here is this. Let us run this project and see what happens. Let's create object of const CR is equals to new car, and to the car we can pass year 2022, make SUV, model 1 2 3, and here we can call CR dot detail CR, console dot log detail CR. Yeah, if you see over here, object dot prototype is not a function, so instead of this object dot prototype, object dot create we need to use. That was my mistake. Now just see this dot detail CR, sorry, detail VH, vehicle details we need. Detail VH is not a function. Car dot prototype is equals to object dot create vehicle dot prototype, vehicle dot call, this we have said, this dot year. Okay, just a minute, let's comment this out. Okay, make ABC this one, vehicle dot prototype. So we are saying so this line will give you an error. There is a reason for this. Just a minute. Details spelling is wrong over here. Details VH. Now, yeah, can you see here? See what is happening. Object dot create. Do you remember we have seen this thing in our methods in the basics?
Yes.
If you see, there are few. Okay, we have seen keys, values, and
Yes.
assign.
Assign.
Right? In the same fashion, you have something called as object dot create. Creates an object that has a specified prototype or that has a null prototype. Now, if you want to create the object, from certain prototype, you will use something called as object dot create. Right? We will document this method also. Now look at the code. First you have First you have, if you can see over here, you have a vehicle constructor function, right? Then inside the prototype of the vehicle, we have added one method details vh, or you can simply make details. Even you don't need this thing. Here also you can remove this thing and you can make this thing as details. That is also enough. Details. Let's run the project and see. Okay. So details cr, details vh. So what is happening? It is, if you look at this, a maximum call stack exceeded. So it is calling same function again and again. That's why you are getting an error over here. But if you see function vehicle over here, vehicle prototype. What is the prototype? In a prototype, we have added one method details vh. So const vh is equals to new vehicle, and here console.vh.details. Here we can say function car vehicle.call this make model, then this dot year is equals to year. So you don't know meaning of this line right now. So this is unknown to you presently. The call is unknown to you. Then car.prototype is equals to object.create. So what is object.create in JavaScript? Is used to create new object with an existing object's prototype of the newly created object. It allows you to create an object that inherits properties and methods from another object. Now, some of the properties, which properties it is going to, so whenever you have a car prototype, in this car prototype, you would be having some of the properties of vehicle prototype also. You would be having some of the properties of vehicle prototype also. So what is the vehicle prototype is having? Make, model, and the detail vh.
Yes.
So what vehicle would be having? Make, model, and what? Details vh. So what would be car? What car would be having? Car would be having year. So instead of writing this, we can write in this way also: year, model, this dot, model, make, this dot, make. This is also okay. Let's run the project here, and you can see, year, model, and this thing, which means that now let's comment this line and see what happens. Let's comment this line and see what happens. Yeah, can you see undefined, undefined? So in the earlier it is giving 1 2 3 SUV, but here you are getting undefined, undefined, which means that this line does something internally. What it does, we'll see shortly. Call, bind, and apply. But vehicle is a parent, and here car is child. And who maintains this relation? Over here, car.prototype is equals to object.create vehicle.prototype. So whatever vehicle is having, all that things would be inherited to the car prototype. All that things would be inherited to what? Car prototype. Car prototype, and it is returning the new object. So object.create will return what? New object. Getting my point? And this is how you can consider this as an inheritance. So this would be having some common properties you can write over here. and then some common properties you can write here, and then a specific properties like this, like car would be having year specific. So there would be BMW. There would be what? BMW. So you can write BMW as a separate constructor function. So here we can say this is a child, but this is a constructor function. Do not forget, this is a constructor function. Constructor function. Child, this is also constructor function. This is a constructor function. This is a constructor function. So here actual inheritance is happening. Here actual inheritance is happening. Correct? Do you understand this code or not?
Yes, sir.
So this is the parent, this is the child, and here your actual inheritance is happening. A vehicle prototype is getting copied or getting assigned to the car prototype. So this car.prototype is equals to, to the car prototype you are assigning the vehicle prototype. So car would be having, or car prototype would be having all that things which are available in the vehicle prototype, right? So car.prototype.detailCr. So in a car prototype you are adding one more function, detailCr, but at this point car prototype would be having make, model and details vh. Yes or no? Are you getting this or not? So at this point, car prototype would be having make, model, year and details CR. So few properties are coming from vehicle and few properties are coming from car. And this line is making the inheritance. So properties are getting inherited from this constructor function to this constructor function. And what is the meaning of this line? This line plays a vital role. We will see that. What is the meaning of this line? With the help of this only I am going to explain call, bind and, or we can say other example also, but I will come back to this file again. Call, bind and apply. There are three things: call, bind and apply. So one of them we have used over here, call. What do you mean by call? We can see that. Right?
Yes, sir.
Vehicle and this thing. So let's write the documentation. Let's write the documentation here. Inheritance using prototype. So first we can see prototype inheritance is a key feature in the JavaScript. Prototype inheritance is a key feature of the JavaScript that allows object to inherit the properties and methods from other object. From the vehicle object we have created what? Car object, right? Each object in JavaScript has the hidden property called as the prototype, which can be used. So here you can say each object in the JavaScript has a hidden property called the prototype, which can be used to provide the shared properties and methods amongst the different object. So from the vehicle you have created car, from the vehicle you can create the BMW also, from the vehicle you can create the cycle also, right? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, when object needs to access the property, here you can say when object needs to access the property or a method that is not directly present on itself, JavaScript looks for it into the prototype chain. This is the prototype chain.
Yes.
First it will look inside. So if you say car.ear, so JavaScript will try to find ear. JavaScript will try to find the ear in the car. If ear is not available in the car, it will search into the car prototype. If it is not available into the car prototype, it will search into the vehicle prototype. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
So here is an overview. Here is an overview. How this prototype chain works. First you can say how prototype works actually. So here we can say prototype chain, or here H3 we can say prototype chain. Here you can say when an object is created, it is linked to the prototype object. So whenever you do something like this, it is internally connected to the prototype. When an object is created, it is linked to the prototype object. If a property or a method not found on object itself, JavaScript looks up the prototype chain and checks if the property or method exists on the object prototype. If property or method is not found on object itself, JavaScript looks up the prototype chain and checks if the property or method exists on the object prototype. If it is not found on the immediate prototype, if it is not found on the immediate prototype, that is a car's prototype, if it is not found on the immediate prototype, the search continues to the chain until the property or a method found, or until the search continues up the chain until the prototype or method found, or until the end of prototype chain is reached. Until what? End of prototype chain is reached. So here we can say inheriting. Now actual inheritance, how it happens, we can see by setting. Here you can say by setting an object's prototype to other object. By setting an object's prototype to other object, you establish a relationship where the object inherits properties and methods from the other prototype. Can you see here? So here you are doing that part. By setting an object prototype to other object, you establish a relationship where the object inherits properties and methods from its prototype. This enables the code reusability. And creation of the hierarchy of the object. So let's take an example. Let's take our example, vehicle, this thing, and then we can have car, this thing. So actual inheritance is happening here. Actual inheritance is happening over here. Correct? Am I audible? Am I audible? So here actual inheritance is happening. Am I audible? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here I have written the code for inheritance. Let me push the code and we can say advanced object inheritance. Inheritance. I have pushed the code, go through the code. Done. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Are you checking or what?
Yes, sir. I'm reading the concept.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So one of the use case of the prototype, here we can say use case H1. One of the use case prototype.
Yes, yes.
Prototype is used absolutely everywhere. but one of the use case is polyfills. Fills. Polyfills. So what do you mean by polyfills? So polyfills are the code snippets. Polyfills are the code snippets. Here you can say. Polyfills are the code snippets, usually in the form of JavaScript, that provide modern functionality in the older environments, where that the functionality is not natively supported. The functionality is not available natively. They essentially fill the gap for the features available into the certain browsers environment. See here, they essentially fill the gap for features that are not available in certain browsers or environments, enabling developers to use latest JavaScript features and APIs while ensuring the backward compatibility. Right? The main purpose of the polyfills is to emulate behavior of the newer JavaScript features. The main purpose of the polyfills is to emulate behavior of the newer JavaScript features into the older browsers that do not support those features. This allows developers to write the code using the latest language features without worrying about whether those features are supported in all target environments. This allows developers just a minute. So I wanted to show you something.
Yes.
I just wanted to show you something. So we have studied array.includes method. Do you remember?
Yes, sir.
This methods we have studied, array.includes.
Like include
This method is available in the ES6,
6.
right? This is not a part of the
Yes.
older JavaScript.
Yes.
Now I want this to make a part of older JavaScript, right? So you need to write some code, and that part of code is called as, let's have a new file, ply.js, right? So we need to write that code. So if you go here and if you see, the main purpose of the polyfills is to emulate the behavior of the newer JavaScript feature into the older browsers. If you go over here, can you see the includes method is supported Chrome release 47, Edge release 14, Firefox 43, right? So this is the part of, and here if you can see the polyfills of arrays.includes in the core JS. Can you see? So this method has been added to the older array thing. This method has been added to the older array thing. Now see, core JS tries to support all possible JS engines and environment with the ES3 support. Some of the features have higher lower bar. For example, some accessors can properly work from ES5, promises are required to set the micro task and whatever they have written. But whatever this library is, whatever this core.js is nothing but what? Full of polyfills. Because these functions like includes, then map, then filter, they do not support. Can you see a modular standard library for JavaScript includes polyfills for ECMA script up to the 23 promises, symbols, collections, typed arrays and other things, right? So what they have written internally, they have written the code and they have checked something that this feature is available or not, right? You getting my point? So this allows developers to write the code using the latest language features without worrying about whether those features are supported in the target environments or not. The main feature of the polyfills is to emulate the behavior. So let us see how we are going to create the code. Now consider that we are writing this thing. So we are just going to check array. So first we are going to say array is a built-in class or built-in, you can say, constructor function. Dot prototype, it would also be having a prototype. And here we are going to check includes. This method is available or not. See, this method is not available in all browsers. You can check the compatibility graph. Hello? Includes is available above Chrome 47. Include is available above Edge 14. Includes is available above Firefox 43, Opera 34, which means that includes is not available in the Chrome 45. Hello? Includes is not available in Chrome 45.
Yes.
Right? So here is simply you can check if prototype dot include. So what is the meaning of this? Can you tell me? What do you mean by this? Array dot prototype dot includes. What is the meaning of this? Hello?
In the array.
Uh-huh.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. In the array, first check includes support or not, then check the prototype.
In the array prototype, see, if include method is written, this is the true the value. If in a prototype, if include method is there, it's a true the value. If not, it will return what? False. Correct? And we are just going to check if it is returning false or not. So if it is returning false, we are negating it and this loop will become true. So here you can say simply add the method. If method is not available, array dot prototype dot includes. This is how this complete library they have written, core.js. In this way, this complete library have been written, core.js, right? Includes would be a function over here, and you can say for let I is equals to 0, I is less than this dot length and I plus plus. If here you can say this of I is exactly equals to this EL, exactly equals to EL. Let's make a triple equals, or exactly equals to EL. Here you can return true. If it has reached the end of the loop, return false. Correct? Includes method return boolean value, true or false. If inside a prototype there is no includes method, then you can add your own includes method so that you can add it on the non-compatible browsers also, right? So here you can see, here is an example of this thing. simple polyfill. What is a polyfill? Use case of prototype. Where exactly you'll use prototype? So this is a typical use case of prototype. And if you want to check, you may go here and you may check something like this. You may check files inside this. Okay. So this is all about what you can say prototype. Fine. Advanced objects, prototype use case, prototype use case. So we'll conclude today's session and we'll meet tomorrow. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sorry, tomorrow I'm not available. We'll meet day after tomorrow.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Friday?
Yes, Friday.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.